A story about Ailette Rodeline, who used to live quite a lovely life with her brother and father, but unfortunately they died in an accident, leaving Ailette alone to wonder about what she is going to do about her life. Sitting at the funeral house, Ailette mourning for her father and brother, with all the people who came to say goodbye to them for one last time. All the relatives of Ailette were thinking, talking, and just whispering with each other about who was going to take her with them, and as they were talking, one of the relatives decided to take her in, and she happily went with them. But they never took proper care of her. They told her that they cannot afford another person, so Ailette might not go to school, but every time they would come back home after all day they would be carrying shopping bags in their hands and they would always dine out. Ailette had to eat whatever she could find in that house. Rice or veggies, tasting good or not, she had to eat it. Having no other choice to endure this kind of torture, she was not happy with it. But soon she got to know that her uncle and aunt took her dad's and brother's death insurance, and were actually using it on them, rather than giving it to Ailette. She was really mad and upset, but the relatives said she couldn't do anything, and that she would have to leave the house. Just listening to that, Ailette couldn't bear to stay there any longer. She ran towards the park and sat down on a bench, and crying her eyes out, thinking of and missing her family. Crying about why she had to go through this, and looking at other children playing with their parents. She was really heartbroken. But now God has given her another chance to feel the warmth of her parents and family, while her dad is holding her hand and promising her that he will never leave her alone. But she will have to be prepared for the future, and she goes and reads the book about the male lead story and how and where she will help the male lead, as the male lead has to go through many time loops and then succeed in his life. But not just that, Ailette finds that she is the minor side character in the novel, and she doesn't have very long to live. In the future, when the male leads visit the Count's manor, he meets Prince Ailette's brother, and he tells the male lead that his sister died some 10 years ago. And after reading this, Ailette is shocked, and she decides to buy the combat and healing skills so she can save herself in the future. As she buys both skills, she faces a challenge. Because to use the healing skill she will have to complete some conditions, which include that she will have to pray to God for a straight 1000 days. So her praying journey begins. She will have to pray from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m., and she goes and cleans the church, and she decides to pray for the transmigration gods, and the gods listen to her, and just then, the voice God who shapes the world reassures her that her money was used well, and that her uncle and aunt never lived a good life. She also tells the voice God that she is really happy in her new life and with her parents. But then the voice of God asks her if she wants to be his follower. And Ailette says yes, and then she learns that she is his first follower. As his first follower she receives many perks, including the opportunity to utilize her skills. She realized that, almost by accident, she had laid the foundation for her own religion. If she could convince someone to believe in her supposed powers of divine retribution, then she could truly begin establishing a faith centered around her. Meanwhile, in another part of the estate, the Count's wife and their daughter Bianca were seated together. The Countess was applying the beauty potion crafted by Ailette's father, speaking idly as Bianca listened. Though present, Bianca showed little interest in her mother's words, until the nanny mentioned that it was Ailette herself who had created the potion. Curiosity sparked within Bianca. For the first time she felt drawn to Ailette and desired to meet her, hoping to form a bond with the girl who possessed such remarkable talent. Unlike Bianca, her younger brother Ramido was mischievous, and often made life difficult for the workers and maids in the household. When he eventually crossed paths with Ailette, she decided to teach him a lesson. In front of the gathered servants, she cleverly embarrassed him, yet, to onlookers, it appeared as though the two children were merely playing together in good spirits. Among those watching was the head maid's daughter. Overcome with jealousy, she marched up to Ailette and struck her across the face, snapping that Ailette had no right to be near Ramido. But Ailette seized the moment. With a few well-placed words, she stirred the Countess's anger against the maid's daughter. The result was swift and merciless. Both the girl and her mother were expelled from the household. Now, Bianca's desire to be friends with Ailette became stronger. As expected, Ailette turned out to be the true friend Bianca had been searching for all along. With mutual affection and trust, the two quickly became inseparable, their bond deepening into a cherished friendship. Yet neither of them realized that a looming danger was quietly approaching, threatening to shatter the peace they had just found. For the first time, Ailette and Bianca visited the library together, excited to spend the afternoon reading. However, fate had other plans. The book they chose was no ordinary text. It was a cursed volume that transported them directly into an A-class dungeon. Inside the dark, dangerous labyrinth, Ailette quickly realized the grim truth. This was how they were destined to die in the original story. Fear pressed heavily on her, but she refused to accept such a fate. Summoning her courage, she reached out to the mysterious voice of her god, with whom she had forged a secret pact. In response, her god granted her the awakening of her unique ability, divine retribution. With this newfound power, Ailette now had a chance not only to protect herself, but also to rewrite their tragic destiny. With her newly awakened powers, Ailette unleashed the strongest skills she could in her current form, striking down the dungeon boss. Its defeat rewarded her with rare loot and special achievements, proof of her unexpected strength. Meanwhile, far away, the church felt the surge of divine energy. Rejoicing, they proclaimed that the long-awaited successor had appeared to save them from the demons. All except for Tislid, the future male lead, still just a child. Bound by the strict rules of his order and the stigma he carried, he felt torn. Yet deep inside, curiosity grew. Who was this mysterious wielder of divine power? Ailette couldn't stop smiling as she received her rewards, already plotting what to do with them. Rather than wasting such treasures, she decided to launch her very own alchemy potion business, with her father's knowledge, Bianca's support, and her own sharp wit to guide the way. She cleverly put the lower-ranking demons to work, turning them into surprisingly efficient herb farmers. In just a matter of days, the once empty fields blossomed with rare plants and magical ingredients. And thanks to her infinite portal bag, so spacious it could probably swallow an entire dungeon, Ailette simply stuffed everything inside. Just as Ailette was admiring her growing success, a sudden notification appeared before her eyes. System message. With 10 billion gold coins, you may change the very genre of the story. Her jaw nearly dropped. Change the genre of the story itself? That was on an entirely different level. Before she could fully process it, new ability unlocked, appraisal and upgrade. You can now see the powers of others, and enhance them using gold coins. While testing her new ability, Ailette noticed that Prinz had great potential. His skills could be upgraded, and he possessed a rare talent worth nurturing. At that very moment, however, Prinz was being bullied by Ramido, with the sword teacher watching from the side. Ailette and Bianca quickly stepped in, scolding Ramido and pulling Prinz away. Wanting to help, she set about brewing a healing potion for his bruises. Prinz, however, shyly suggested an odd twist. I could drink it faster if it was chocolate flavor. Though the idea sounded impossible at first, Ailette couldn't resist experimenting. Even though the drink looked ominous, it was really yummy in flavor. Soon after, she invested her gold coins to purchase the swordmaster skill for Prinz. As she could see that Prinz had a really good future ahead, the results were immediate. Ramido could no longer overpower him, and even the sword instructor began praising Prinz's sudden growth. Consumed by jealousy, Ramido tried more than once to harm Prinz, but every attempt failed miserably, leaving Ailette quietly amused at how neatly the tables had turned. As Ailette was enjoying her time in the forest, she met another spectacular person. Cartelia, Bianca's grandmother. Cartelia wasn't just any old woman. She had a strange, powerful gift. She could see how many days a person had left to live. But no matter what she saw, she could never tell another living soul what she saw. But Ailette knew the truth. Somehow, without being told, Ailette understood Cartelia's secret. One day, as they sat beneath the warm sunlight, Ailette gently told her something that made the old woman freeze. I know you love Bianca, she said. You always have. You just didn't think you were allowed to show it. For years she had kept her distance from Bianca, convinced it was for the best. But Cartelia was more shocked to see the abnormal numbers on top Ailette's head. No human can have such numbers, and she thinks Ailette is a returnee. The numbers twisted in a way Cartelia had never seen before. But Cartelia was happy that Ailette changed Bianca's fate, and now the problem between Bianca and her grandmother was solved, and they happily hugged each other. And yet, Ailette just smiled. The grandmother was overjoyed to be reunited with Bianca, and as a thank you gift, she gave Ailette the holy keychain of the previous saintess. She told Ailette that if she ever needed help she could come to her. Ailette immediately asked to visit the holy church, though in truth, she needed to fulfill a quest. She began preparing for her journey, with potions and supplies. Bianca was actually surprised, as why she is taking so many of them. And then Ailette paused to say goodbye to her family. Bianca reminded her to be careful and not get hurt. She also asked Ailette to tell her the secret of being a returnee when she comes back. Soon after, Ailette and the grandmother were ready to go, and they stood in one place when the other guy opened the portal. They stepped through a portal and arrived at the gates of the holy church, its beauty leaving her in awe. Meanwhile, Teslid, the male lead, was watching children gather for the stigma exam. Instead of wishing them well, he secretly prayed for their failure. Something forbidden under the stigma rules, because envy and kindness can never coexist. At the same time, Ailette explored the church grounds, but when Cartalia was called away for urgent matters, she was left alone. For Ailette, this was the perfect chance to begin her quest, to collect the rare healing grass, mistaken by others for a useless weed. While she was busy gathering it, Teslid appeared behind her. She instantly recognized him for his striking looks, but he mistook her for a thief. While observing Ailette, he admitted he had followed the aura of the holy relic pendant she carried. But in actuality, except for the holy relic, he cannot sense holy powers from Ailette. As they spoke, Ailette suddenly remembered. This was the very day when all the stigma bearers and children would perish, except Teslid, who would survive but be left scarred by his first great trauma. Her thoughts were cut short as a dungeon opened and swallowed all the children inside. It was an S-class dungeon, and the monstrous boss appeared, tempting them with sweets. Those who ate instantly transformed into stuffed dolls, as if they were killed. The body will dry up, but being killed slowly as a doll will keep it fresh. Panic spread as the monster attacked. Teslid tried his best to block the attacks, but as the system found too much violence, they had to rebut Ailette's emotional barriers. After regaining consciousness, Ailette decided to flee with Teslid until they found refuge in a hidden room. There, Teslid asked how she knew his name, as Ailette had shouted it in a hurry without being aware of it. Even after being asked twice, she remained silent, saying that it is a secret she cannot tell Teslid. But she only smiled, healed his wounds with potions, and promised she would always be by his side. Noticing he was hungry, she even offered him food. Suddenly, the monster's voice commanded all the children to gather in the dining hall, warning that every other room would be engulfed in fire. Though dangerous, Ailette formed a plan. She knew the story from the start. She also knew what and how she could escape the fire monster. She knew the fire monster preferred grass over meat, and she carried plenty of healing grass, offering it to the beasts who have been waiting for grass for 100 years. Seeing the grass, the beast turned into a happy kid. After seeing his favorite food being filled up in the whole room, she managed to calm the beast, whose flames miraculously healed the drugged children. Enraged, the dungeon boss punished the fire monster by turning him to stone, a stone Ailette would later collect, but the danger continued. The boss began a cruel, dead flower game, making flowers bloom on each child's head. As the blossoms grew, their lives withered. The boss eagerly awaited someone with a violet flower, the rarest of all, and of course, it appeared on Ailette. Seeing the special flower blooming on Ailette's head, the monster butler is very happy, and is thinking of what to do with the violet flower. Just then, he called to her, promising to reveal everything if she came to him, but Teslid stopped her, saying that he could not let her die in his place. The butler monster grew angry and disappeared, leaving the children to fight through all the other monsters on their own. They had to push forward together, battling each creature, until they finally reached the last dungeon where the final boss awaited them. Together, they pressed forward to defeat the dungeon's final foe. They fought relentlessly, while Ailette continuously supplied them with booster and healing potions. When one of Teslid's friends attempted to attack the final boss, the supposed enemy was only a decoy, and the monster instantly blasted him into pieces. The butler himself was the real final boss. The butler then turned to Ailette and asked her to become his fiancée, promising to return with a ring to propose. Before the battle, she gives Teslid's friends sleeping potions disguised as healing potions. Only Teslid remained awake, unknowingly spared because he had given his own potion to his injured friend, thinking it would help him recover faster. Ailette urged Teslid to take the front line. When Teslid looked back mid-battle, he was shocked to see Ailette radiating holy power. Teslid grew stronger, and together they struck down the final boss, the butler monster with holy purge.